my way.
Hello, my lovely childs of the internet. It is I, Multi126789, other known as Multi-Man. Welcome to another video of once again talking about video games, and today we're talking about Octopath Traveler 2. Astonishing sequel that honestly, we're gonna talk about a lot of stuff here. I'm gonna try to do my best while talking about this game to save the spoilers until the end of the actual video, which I will probably make chapter for when I'm like, oh, we're gonna talk about spoilers now, so just to let you know. So if you just want to hear about the game and basically what you should expect if you want to go ahead and try the game if you didn't get a chance to play it back in February, or if you were like me who ended up being a little bit late to the party, then by all means you can listen to the first like probably 10-20 minutes of the video and just enjoy yourself. So yeah, without further ado, let's do it. So, Octopath Traveler 2 is the sequel to the game called Octopath Traveler 1. I know, that's crazy, am I right? But, you know, for those who aren't informed about Octopath Traveler, basically the main game and how it's broken down is it's a game with 8 different individual stories with 8 individual main characters, and you basically play as these travelers that are all trying to achieve their own goals as you try to learn and grow, learn about the world and grow as individuals in the game, trying to play and do random battles in RPG style like combat. One of the major interesting things about Octopath as a series is when I played this back in 2018, as somebody who doesn't really think too lowly of, you know, like most things, like I like JRPGs and RPGs in general where it's turn-based combat. Though lately, you know, as you've probably seen on my channel, most of the RPGs that I play end up being nothing but, you know, more action-oriented, like Xenoblade and, like, all of the other RPGs that I've played, like Persona 5 Strikers, and some other things that I played on the channel, right? But I will say that I do have a soft spot for regular turn-based RPGs, and I will tell you that this game, both the first and the second one, have a beautiful art style, which is called HD 2D, which is now used for basically almost every pixel art slash sprite art remaster for a lot of Square Enix properties. And obviously, as you can tell with the visuals that you're seeing on screen, the game is a beautiful, beautiful work of art. Honestly, I think they improved it a lot since Octopath 1, and they did have a mobile game where you could play on your phone if you wanted to try a free version or a version of Octopath if you weren't sure if you wanted to shell out money for an actual full edition. With that being said, also, they have the bonus of, for the number 2, being on different consoles or PC, you know, so you got Switch, PlayStation 5, and then also Steam if you want an option for playing the game, either in higher fidelity or for the fact that you can get higher frame rate and other things such as that. But that also being said, after all that talk about just gushing about the visuals, let me just say this. Let me just start by saying this so we can clarify. You can play Octopath 1 and Octopath 2 without playing both games. Most of us are a lot of people in the community who played Octopath 1 or who enjoy both games will tell you you can start with 2. You can skip 1. I personally appreciate 2 a little bit more because I played 1, because there are little tidbits that you would know if you played 1, but if you didn't play 1, that's okay, because those tidbits aren't super big. They're just something that would make you scratch your head and realize some things about the first game that the second game also has to offer. But again, we'll talk about that later in the spoiler section of this video. But no, Octopath Traveler is a really cool game. Each game, you get 8 characters. So in this game, you get Ochette, Cassidy, we got Temenos, we got Oswald, we got Particio, Agnea, my sweetheart, Throne, and Hakari. Those are our 8 characters, and yes, I just said them in order of their letters of their name to create Octopath. I know, it's a big funny. Yeah, nobody saw that coming. That was also the same with the first game, but if you ask me to remember all of their names off the top of my head, I could, but we're not talking about the second game. I mean, we're not talking about the first game. We are currently talking about the second game. So, my journey for Octopath Traveler, at least the number 2, was a lot smoother than I think number 1 was. Also, I think number 2 is a lot more lenient on dealing with both random encounters and how you approach the story and quest in this game. One of the main things about Octopath Traveler is, since, like I said, there's 8 main characters in the game, you get to pick which protagonist you want to start with, and then you'll have in your journey basically until the end of the game. So me, like I said, Agnea is my sweetheart. I love her very much, and she deserves all the happiness and joy that she will ever get in the world. She is the person I started the game with and ended the game with. She is the dancer of the group, and, you know, each class has their own specific role in the game to, you know, give you certain different types of things or gameplay styles. So I basically had a person who gave buffs and debuffs, and be able to support the whole rest of the team, which is really cool, because in the first game I thought about starting with Dancer, but in the last game there was a merchant named Tressa, and I kind of couldn't pass up the opportunity for Tressa, because both Tressa and Agnea have a similar story archetype of wanting to travel the world and bring happiness to everybody in the world, because that's their main goals for their stories. Now, for a lot of you, you're probably like, well, Multi, wouldn't you get bored with a story that doesn't really seem to have a conflict other than they're going to be this super cool person who's doing this stuff? To be honest, no. For me, at least, it didn't really affect my enjoyment of the game. If anything, it made the final impact of what happens near the end of the game actually mean more to me, because of the fact that, you know, I was playing with a character who literally wanted to travel the world to make the place happier, and just traveled alongside a lot of her company. It actually made a deeper impact on me as an individual. Mostly due to the fact that, just like Agnea, we who are the players in the game are traveling with these people as our companions, learning and growing about, you know, not only just ourselves, but also about the world that we've thrown ourselves into in Octopath Traveler 2, and just really enriching ourselves in that little world. I will say that also, after you get your first character, then you can go ahead and choose whichever of the other 7 characters that are still left to pick in any order, which is really sick. That's also the same in the first game as well. It's a lot easier in the first game to get all of them, because they're all, like, literally one town away and you don't have to travel as far. But I think I like Octopath Traveler 2 because of the fact that each of the locations in the map in the game are actually spread out enough to be like, you're going to have to go on a journey if you want a certain order of character, or if you thought another character was very interesting but they weren't your first choice. So sometimes you would have to go out of your way and actually learn and explore the world a lot more before getting everybody. Of course, you could also do the thing of just getting who's closest to you. But for me, I made it a conscious effort to basically choose what characters I thought I would like personally in the game a lot, versus just choosing who's ever closest and then just going in an order that I thought would make sense to me, because I decided to choose what I personally would find to be entertaining. But that being said, though, Octopath is a really good narratively written game. I would say that the second game has a lot more over the first game when strength-wise, because, bro, I will say one thing about the stuff in Octopath Traveler 2. The camera work in that game is absolutely awe-striking, and it's at some point during the game, I kept forgetting that, you know, I technically wasn't playing a 3D, like, modeled game. I was playing a 2D game, but every time that I saw the models for the sprite art, it really just kind of drawn me in as if they were already like 3D characters, you know, in a 2D game, but I didn't really register in my brain that, no, these are still pixels, but you can just imagine how much work and detail and their emotions and their reflection of their voice acting is, and how great it is. Because honestly, I will say we're gonna talk about all the stuff that they added to right now, which is, first of all characters now in this game have a latent ability skill, which basically adds more stuff for your combat. The game also has a day and night cycle for our character's unique abilities, which each character starts with certain path actions that are really good, that allow you to be able to interact with NPCs in the world. My character, Agnia, the higher level she is, the more she can take items from people. That becomes very useful if she's your main character, so you can basically ask people for their items, and they can't really refuse, because as long as you're on the level requirement, you can take it. I mean, there's a few other ways that you can take stuff from people, such as if you want to take items from NPC, you can either use it using Partitio, the merchant's ability, to use money, or you can use Throne's ability to steal, but it's a percentage chance, and the more you try to steal or do something like that sort of action, the more likelihood you're going to be resented by the town if you fail, so be careful. And then also we got Oswald, who, for all intents and purposes, he has the ability to mug people. And basically during the nighttime, if they don't want to give it up because of your level, you can beat them into submission so they give you the item. That's also funny. And like, there's a whole bunch of stuff like that. Like, also the warrior and the hunter, being Hikari and Ochette, have abilities to attack or fight NPCs. Most of the time for Ochette, it's just to knock people out. But for Hikari, you can learn new abilities just by fighting different NPCs, which is really cool. Another neat feature that I also will say is that they really make the map design in this game very, very particularly more expansive, in a way where it doesn't feel like you're going to be traveling and not going anywhere most of the time. It's more just the fact that they actually rearranged the way that the scope of the entire map feels in this game, which didn't feel as clustered as the first game. Because I will admit that the first game, when it came to pacing, was probably more due to the fact that a lot of towns and a lot of the places that you could go were kind of clustered really close by of each of the starting towns of each character, and so you don't feel like you traveled as much because there wasn't as many unique land spots. Even though, yeah, each territory has their own like themes, such as like Winterbloom in this game is a winter place. Who would have thought? Tohohaha, which is the, you know, remote jungle area where the beastlings, where Ochette and the other hunters and stuff that live there live, you know. We got Coldbrook, a literal sea town where you can go on these little boats, the skiffs that are new to this game, which allow you to do water travel, which honestly, I don't know if you guys would understand how much I appreciate having another unique way of traveling, but being able to use these little skiffs to literally go across water and go through bodies of water makes each different dungeon have a little bit of a place where you can do that, which makes it feel more fleshed out and lived in. Because there's a lot of water in this game. Some people from Pokemon Gen 3 would hate you for saying that, but yeah, there's a lot of water. But, you know, at least in this game, it serves the purpose of having more hidden secrets, or little places where it divvies off into little dungeons where you can find, and you can find them early. Also, Octopath Traveler does not restrict you from going to higher level areas. Now, that is both a blessing and a curse, because sometimes you could walk into a higher level area not knowing that it was a higher level area, and then get rample stomped by a lot of enemies and cry. But that also being said, it's really fun to just go and explore and seeing how many steps you can take before you get to a save point, so if you get wiped out by an enemy, at least you can start from the save point, you know? Being able to travel and walk all the way to every single town in the game before you're even supposed to be there is also really fun to do. As long as you take your steps and your precautions and you try to duck and weave out of the way of all these enemies that are higher level than you, you can basically go anywhere as soon as you get your first character's story completed. Now, I guess we can't really talk about Octopath Traveler without talking about the combat system. So again, the combat system is more borrowed from one of Square Enix's other JRPG called Bravely Default. So Bravely Default had a system where you had a certain amount of what they call BP, which in this game I'm pretty sure is called boost points instead of brave points in Bravely Default for obvious reasons. But the whole gimmick is that every character technically only gets one turn in this game. Technically. But if you want, you can boost up powers or abilities or skills or the potencies of all of those three things I just mentioned by using these boost points. Now, again, your character is going to stack up to 6, I believe. Having 0 flips would equal you only get 1, or the standard version of any move. If you get 1 flip, you get a secondary edition of that skill. Third, and then the max amount of BP you can use is 4. Now 4 is usually when you want to use something like a super cool special move, or you want to use, I don't know, a latent power or ability to be able to pop off because you're going to use that at full power. In this game, latent powers also allow you to do certain things like my character, Agnia, she has the ability to, whenever she has a class equipped and she uses her latent ability, which is a new feature that you would press using the X button on the Switch, basically it makes it so all of your moves are now AoE. So certain moves that used to only be single target ones are now hitting everybody on the stage, which is really cool. Other ones of note, the merchant Particio, he gets literally a freebie of getting 4 BP off of any round as long as he has latent gauge, which is really silly. It only works for that one turn that you use it, but the fact that you get 4 BP back and you can basically go back to going in or going ham with that character makes him really good. And again, every character has a unique latent ability for their traits. I won't talk about them all because most of the ones that I wanted to highlight I just said. And then also upon that, like I said, there are jobs in this game. Now, jobs in Octopath Traveler are just extra tools to allow your main characters to have other characters' abilities and skills to be able to allow them to do, you know, have extra weapons that they can use instead of just what their class has, extra abilities that they wouldn't be able to use, and also passive abilities that you get when learning jobs. Because in this game, since there is a job system, basically every time you fight a battle, you will get JP. JP will unlock you extra JP points, which will unlock your skills, and those skills will unlock you extra passives that basically can be equipped even without the job class being on there. And the passives in this game are pretty good. The passives can make certain characters that don't seem super exciting very exciting by the prospect of just having a certain passive move from another class being put on to their class as that main character, which is really good because the flexibility in the teams that you can make in Octopath are astounding. In total, I believe there are 8 regular classes and then 4 special classes, which again we'll talk about in spoilers here in a little bit. But the basic flow of the game is, you know, you pick a character to play as, you get all your characters, and then you just travel the world, preparing yourself to do chapters, which each chapter in the game, if you decide to take your time and just travel the world and do stuff, each chapter will take you about an hour, maybe 2 hours at usually the most. Most random encounters in this game aren't as frequent as the previous game, but there are skills again to lower that if you need to. Unfortunately, you can't turn them off altogether, but you know, I guess that's the balance because, you know, you don't really need to grind in this game as long as you're fighting every encounter that you see anyways. And later in the game, you'll get enough tools to literally clear even the hardest battles in like 1 turn. Easily. Because there's a lot of tools and a lot of things that you can end up getting once you figure out certain skills and combinations of passives to be able to just easily clear the game. And of course, like I said, since this game is an upgrade from Octopath, Octopath originally only had 4 chapters for every character, and that would be it. Along with a unique thing called travel banter that would allow you to talk to your other party members during somebody's story, so you can get more of an insight of how they feel about any given situation. Obviously, whoever you picked as your main character is going to be forced in your party for almost all those travel banters, so you'll probably see every other character's travel banter with that main character you chose, which will give them more development and more appreciation for the character you chose. And that being said, even after the fact, you know, a lot of things in Octopath Traveler that really kind of just brings up the best of this game is that I think in this game the ratio of the stories and what you can expect and learn from the stories are going to be a lot more greater than you would have experienced in 1. Because for me, I enjoyed 1 and I could take 1 for what it was, but I understand that a lot of people said, because the characters don't interact as much, or they don't really have stories that feel like they're super connected, you know, it's a little bit tougher as a sell than the second game, where they do an excellent job implementing story chapters where two characters actually do stuff together. The travel banter is a lot more plentiful, and then, you know, other stuff that happens in the game. Alright, so now this is the part of the video where we're going to talk about spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled on anything in the game, or if you're just are still curious about if you want to play the game, you can go ahead and listen here for the next little bit if you want. Most of the stuff I'm going to be spoiling is going to be pretty much late game, or stuff that's going to be relevant to somebody's enjoyment if they were still on the fence of picking up the game. But it won't spoil every individual story of, you know, every character, because basically I'm just going to be giving a small synopsis of like how I felt about the game, the quests in the game, other sorts of things in the game, and so forth. So again, you've been warned, and the chapter is in the video, so if you don't want to be spoiled, you know, viewer beware, you're in for a scare, you know? So yeah, so talking about everything in Octopath Traveler 2 from now for the rest of the video of like spoilers and stuff. Each story basically is 4 chapters that's usually broken down for whatever main quests each character has. Like, Agnia is literally traveling the world trying to find out and find herself and what she feels that how she can grow as a person and give people hope back into the world. Berticio was also one of the standout favorites, where his whole thing is that he's trying to amass enough money to help the world from poverty, because poverty is a devil that needs to be snuffed out, which I agree with. Cassidy, also one of my favorites, was learning about why she had amnesia and why she couldn't regain her memories of tragic incident that happened in the past. And Ochette is my last character that I chose, well, the last character in my first team of 4 as a party, to be able to choose. And she was a hunter who was tasked to go collect the 3 beasts of legend, which is like Pokemon with her, because she can capture beasts and then use them as her allies, which is really cool. Now, I'm only talking about these 4 because obviously there's also other stories and other characters, but I feel like if you're already listening to this part of the story, you're probably either already played the game, or you're just wanted to be interested enough to see like, oh, the stories in this game seem vastly different than the first game. Because again, I think the story I think that the stories are actually differentiated enough and have a lot more going for them in this game in particular, because of path actions and the day and night cycle, and also the better work with camera and also, you know, scale in this game. I think that the stories in Octopath Traveler 2 were all excellent. Like, I have very little qualms with any of them. Like, there's a few things that you can nitpick here or there, and some people have, but, you know, genuinely speaking, Octopath Traveler 2, if you start with this game, you will not be disappointed. This is a JRPG that's worth picking up. Not to mention that a lot of quests and other things that happen in this game all tie around to other parts of the story that have an overarching plot. Now, to be 100% transparent with you, as the first game and as the second game as well, the only time that, you know, most of your party usually talks to each other is through travel banter. They really don't have too many scenes where they all get to talk and have a fun time. But like I said, since this is a spoiler section, I'm just going to tell you, when you get to the end of the game and you beat everybody's stories, they unlock basically an epilogue, or the final chapter of the game, where basically all of your characters will converse and talk about what they're going to do now that they finished all of their stories, to then have to confront the real big bad of the end game, which, boy, I'm not going to spoil for you, but all the buildup of traveling and doing all these character stories is actually paid off in a really nice and wonderful way near the end. And not to mention that by the time you started traveling the world and just looking for secrets and stuff, you might piece together like the little puzzle that's been going on around the world, or having a little bit of knowledge of what's going on and what characters and NPCs that you met that might actually influence the way that the end game happens. And a lot of that stuff was really cool, and I was genuinely surprised of how well they tied everything together, and I realized certain things, and I'm like, whoa, that's actually sick, and I didn't think they were gonna go for this, but they did, and I'm like, yo. Bruh. But yeah, nah. Octopath Traveler 2 is really a really fun game, and I really want to spoil more, but I'm like, if you're listening to this right now and you still aren't convinced, I put 80 hours, almost 90 hours into that game, and every single time I picked up the game and played it, I said I was only going to play it for like maybe an hour or two, and ended up playing for like 5 or 6. That's how lost in the game you can be when you end up playing Octopath Traveler. And it's in a good way, because it's, again, one of those narrative structures that lets you go at your own pace, but still allows you to try and all kinds of different things, explore the world at your own pace, and allows you to just take in the music and the sound. Oh, do you want to even talk about the music? Because the music in this game is, whoo, the music in this game is really, really good. Like, severely good. Like, I genuinely am surprised how many songs in this game that I like compared to the first one. Because I thought the first one in this game had some pretty good tracks. For me personally, I enjoyed a lot of the music from that game. But now that the second game came out, I'm like, dang. They really said that they were making a rumble rousey in this game. Because holy, there was a lot of cool music tracks in this game that get copyrighted by Square Enix. But if you play on your own, this is one quest I will spoil. There is a quest in this game for Partitio where you can actually listen to almost the entirety of the soundtrack in the taverns using a thing that you get from a certain side quest, which is really nice, because sometimes you just want to sit back and just relax and just enjoy the music of the game. And if you don't want to replay the game to experience some of the music, at least you have an option to listen to the music in game. Well, Octopath Traveler was a really, really fun game. Obviously, it gets my 10 out of a 10 seal of approval, because for me, obviously, I loved Octopath Traveler 1. I didn't do a video on it back when that game came out because of certain circumstances that I was trying to fix during that time, due to like editing software and stuff I used to have for some of my video stuff that I couldn't do around the time. So I was like, dang, I at least got to play it and enjoy it for myself, and I really enjoyed that game. But 2 is the perfect sequel. I do not understand how they made a game that, you know, a lot of people disliked, then to everybody likes and rejoices and says, you can just play this one and it's super good. Because I'm just like, I know that they made a mobile game and they probably took a lot of the feedback from the first game to heart and changed around a lot of things, but I will say that no, all the themes, all the stuff that they tie in this game is really good. All the stories and all how the NPCs and everything in the world interacts with each other is really good. How you learn and grow along your journey is really good. A lot of cool skills and classes. I didn't even really mention the 4 other classes that you could have gotten for jobs, where some of them are just you can find in the world and aren't locked behind anything. And then also in this game, there's only like a unique boss fight to get one of the classes, which I think is really cool, because there's a lot of cool things in this game where if you take your time and just learn how to navigate through the world, you can find a lot of cool stuff and equipment really quickly and be able to bolster yourself throughout the rest of the game. And that's really excellent. I think Octopath Traveler 2, if you were ever looking at playing a JRPG or trying a RPG for the first time, I think that Octopath Traveler 2 would probably be the best place to start. Not only because it allows you to have a lot more sense of freedom as a JRPG instead of having a linear story narrative, is literally because you get to experience a lot of characters and a lot of different archetypes in, like, you know, most narrative stories, while also being able to just enjoy yourself in the very relaxed luxury of taking your time and just enjoying the travel itself. Because at the end of the day, I enjoyed the fact that I reached my destination, but the journey to that destination was even better than the conclusion. And I'm not saying that the conclusion's bad, I'm just saying that everything leading up to the narrative end of this game was fire, and that's why I liked it. And I'm just glad that I got to play this game, even though I was a few months late because I was playing Fire Emblem Engage. I'm glad that I was able to play it and enjoy it and get to the end of that game to say, yeah, I definitely loved Octopath Traveler 2. I recommend it to anybody who wants to play a JRPG and have, you know, about 100 hours of fun just going around a world with a bunch of fun and unique characters, and, you know, having a job system that allows you to have player expression and freedom. But yeah, everybody, that's going to be it for this video. Thank you for joining and listening to me for this long. Obviously, I'm probably putting this as a conclusion and, making a separate chapter so you don't have to worry about getting spooked, if you wanted to listen to my final thoughts. But yeah, I would like to say that this game, Octopath Traveler 2, definitely was a thing that I needed because I genuinely enjoyed my time with it, the message that it had to offer, and my gameplay experience with it definitely was super heightened due to the fact I very much enjoyed the worlds of Octopath Traveler 1 and 2, and I'm very excited to see what this team does in the future, because I'm definitely going to be there for it. But, as always, I have been Multi126789, other known as Multi-Man, and I would like to thank all of you lovely childs of the internet out there, yeah, you, I'm talking to you, for watching this video. Thank you very much. Again, I definitely recommend this game. Again, this is the first... I recommend a lot of games, but this one I can definitely say if you want to try a JRPG for the first time and enjoy yourself, go for this one. This is like the most simplistic and most heartwarming and most chill RPG that you can take your time and enjoy easily. But that being said, I have been Multi126789, other known as Multi-Man, and I hope you lovely childs of the internet have a good one. Ciao, ciao, until the next video.